You never know what's going to pop up on your Facebook feed, like news and stuff. But as a person who lives with IBS, IBD, they haven't decided which one it is, that would require more tests, and you know I am not in the mood for more tests. But anyway, I was reading this article that popped up, and it's one of those where it's like the ridiculous, like, 8-year-old inside of you finds it so funny, and then the 42-year-old living with horrible digestive problems finds it just absolutely tragic, mortifying, horrifying, end of the world, you know? There was a person on a flight, and it was a long flight. Flight didn't last. They ended up having to land because that person was suffering from severe diarrhea. How awful. And it was like all up and down the aisle in the airplane. Now, I travel pretty often and fly quite a bit. And every time I get on a plane, I worry. Especially if it's like more than 2 hours. And especially even more than that if it's in the morning, like before 11 a.m. Because mornings are the hardest for me when it comes to my guts. Especially depending, of course, on what I ate the day before. If I'm going to be needing to do something the next morning, I have to be so careful what I eat the day or the night before. And I know a lot of you, you know, experience the same thing. It's, so if I'm going to have a flight the next day, I have to, like, my goal is usually to have gotten my guts cleaned out the day before and not eat anything that would upset my guts right away. But also to eat something that will, like, the next day help keep things moving. Does that make sense? Like, for instance, peanuts. I am allergic to peanuts. It doesn't cause anaphylaxis. It's more of a gut allergy or like digestive allergy. And so it causes problems. But if I know I'm going to be traveling and flying always tends to back up my guts and slow me down that way. So I will take like a handful or two of peanuts or a couple, you know, spoonsful of peanut butter and have those the night before my trip so that it's not soon enough that I'll be like shitting my guts out on the flight or the drive. But by the time I arrive at my destination and get settled in, it will hopefully have counteracted the slowdown that I generally tend to experience with traveling, especially flying. Why does flying back us up? I don't know. Is it like the air pressure change or sitting for so long? I don't know. But anyway, that's usually what I do. I make sure I'm very careful of what I eat in the days leading up to any kind of a trip. And then when I'm on a trip, I try to, like if I'm going to fly, I try to make sure that I've gone to the bathroom, done everything I possibly can to be empty for the flight, and then also try to get a seat near a bathroom. So, because, oh my God, this poor person, oh, it breaks my heart for them. It breaks my heart. They must not have been close to one of the bathrooms because they had to go, like it said that, you know, it was a mess all along the whole aisleway. So how far away were they from the bathroom, I wonder? Oh, it's so sad. Can you even, I could never show my face again. It would just be dig a hole, throw me in. Just throw me in. I can't imagine. And I've had some pretty awful situations because of my digestive issues and some embarrassing, humiliating, awful things. And so that's like taking the issues I've had and timesing them by like 1 trillion. I mean, you're on an airplane, a fully loaded airplane that all these people have paid a fortune for their tickets. They're going on trips. And because of your guts, the plane has to be grounded. It has to be sanitized. Everyone has to get a new flight. I don't know if, I wonder, it didn't say in the article if this person even ended up getting back on the flight, because there's no way in hell that you are getting back on with that same bunch of passengers. There's no way you're doing that. You're not doing that. I mean, you're never showing your face again, right? Like, I don't know, maybe you guys wouldn't be as big a deal to you. I don't know how it could not be a big deal, but maybe you would just be like, whatever, I'm still going. Or they've already seen the worst, so nothing else, you know, could be worse. Might as well just, I don't know. I don't know. What would you do? Tell me, what would you do? So the plane had to be grounded, and Jesus, and cleaned and whatever. And then what about the person's clothing? Because for sure they had a suitcase and stuff in like the hold of the plane. I mean, would you have to have, I'm trying to think all the logistics, because as someone with IBS, IBD, let's just say digestive problems, I always have to plan. Since my biggest embarrassing situation, one that I had at Disneyland, I'm not sure if I've told you guys about it because it's so horrific and so traumatizing for me, but since that situation, I'm so careful. I'm always planning, like, how will I handle this potential disaster, or what can I do to mitigate the, you know, the chances of this kind of disaster? Always planning ahead. And so my thoughts are, okay, how did they access clothing? Or so did someone get like their suitcase out for them? Because that would be quite a to-do in itself. Although I guess they would have had to unload all the luggage anyway, right? Because they were moving everyone to a different plane, maybe. But it's like, okay, what do you do while you're waiting for clothing? Or did they wrap them up in a sheet or towels? Like, what, how do you even handle that? How do you even manage that? I mean, maybe if they were lucky, they would have something in their carry-on luggage already there in the plane, maybe. But otherwise, what do you, I don't know. I don't know. What do you do? It is so devastating on just a number of levels. And when you consider all just like the circumstances of this situation, I can't even, and I don't want to imagine how just incredibly awful that would be. And it also didn't say if they were, sorry, I'm outside. There's outside noises. Lots of big, loud trucks. Oh, but it feels so good to be outside. Sorry, quick side note tangent. The weather, oh my God, it's so beautiful. This is autumn, this is fall, and it's fabulous. My absolute favorite time of year. And so I figure I'll be doing my journals quite a bit out here. Hope you don't mind. But anyway, so it didn't even say in the article if they had family with them, if they were traveling with anyone, were they on their own? And I don't know, would you, if you were in that situation, would it be better to have family with you or worse? Like, my mind, okay, I'm a creative writing major, so of course my mind goes to all these, I make up stories, okay? Stories. I'm always coming up with like stories I create. And so with whatever situation. So in my head, I've made this story, I've made two different ones. One, this person was entirely on their own. We can go anywhere with this. They were traveling, they had saved up their whole lives for this amazing trip, and then this happened, you know? Or it's a family thing. They're all heading home from a vacation, or they're moving and going to their new location. They're going to a funeral, or they're going to spend time with a loved one who has little time left, or they were on their honeymoon. Oh God, can you imagine if they were on their honeymoon? You know, that's a way to see if a relationship is going to last or not. If they could get through that together, their marriage is set. Their marriage is set. Oh, God, I don't know. So, yeah, I make up these stories of what's going on, why they're on this flight. You know, do they have someone with them? Do they not? Oh, I don't know. What I do know is, regardless of the situation, if they had someone with them, don't have someone with them, although that might help logistically with, like, getting stuff to cover them. I don't know. Anyway, either way, awful. Just awful. And of course, not just for the person going through that. That's just horrific, but also for the other passengers. I mean, you're in there like sardines. It's so tight. The stench, oh God, the stench must have been just, oof. And there's nowhere you can go. There's nothing you can do, because even if you were going to try to like get a little ways away from it, you'd have to go down the aisle. You can't walk down the aisle. There's shit everywhere. Well, I mean, I don't know the extent. Sorry, another loud, noisy truck. Okay. I don't know the extent to, you know, how much was there and how it was spread and distributed along their desperate path to the bathroom, but God. So yeah, you couldn't even go down the aisles. And then like the flight attendants. Oh, how did they manage this situation? Because they've got to try to keep everyone comfortable and help with the person who is in like disaster mode. Oh, and then of course you've got to land that plane. You can't just, you know, the scheduled flight was a really long flight. You can't. So they declared it a biohazard, a freaking biohazard. And so that was their reason for landing. And then I was reading the comments, and someone, and I haven't done the research yet or looked it up, but someone mentioned that on a different airline, because the poop journey, that was Delta, and I only fly Delta. I love Delta, but someone was mentioning in the comments about a different flight where someone had thrown up, or that people were forced to stay sitting in like throw up. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know the details. I haven't looked that one up. And it was a different airline. I'm guessing United, because they just suck. God, they suck. But people had been forced to just stay in barf. I don't know. Like, which one is more of a biohazard? I would say shitting all over the place is more of a biohazard, because that's literally like your body's waste, whereas throwing up can happen for a number of reasons. Not that I'm saying you should have to stay in a flight. Oh, can you even imagine? Even the sight or the smell of throw up, and I get sick. So, and I know that's a lot of us, right? And then being in this super tight enclosed space, and the air is recirculating. You guys, the air is recirculating. Oh, Jesus. Oh, and you can't crack a window. You definitely can't crack a window. Oh, it's so awful. It's so unimaginably awful. But yeah, that one where people were throwing up, or someone had thrown up, that one was not grounded. They didn't declare a biohazard or whatever, and people sat in that and smelled it, and oh geez, I'm gonna have to look up the details. I don't know, but anyway, as someone who lives with digestive problems, terrible digestive problems, horrible digestive problems, I worry about stuff like this all the time. And it's just like, oh, new fear unlocked. Gonna end up on a flight one of these times. I'll be flying in December. My sister and I are going to Disneyland together. And I read that article, and it's like, we're not going. No, I mean, you've got to prepare, you've got to plan ahead, but at the same time, as several commenters mentioned, like when you have these gut issues, yes, you do absolutely everything you can to mitigate problems, and there are lots of things you can do to plan, to prepare, whatever, set yourself up for better chances. But also at the same time, there are things that just happen when it comes to this disorder. And some of it you just honestly cannot control. There are times when you've done everything right, absolutely everything, down to what you ate and how you breathed. Just kidding. But really, you've done absolutely everything you could do. And still, wait for it, shit happens. For whatever reason, your body just decides to betray you, and it just happens. And I don't know that that's the case with the situation. I have no way to know, but what I do know is that that can happen. So we went over the weekend, Labor Day weekend, we went to St. George, Utah, and we had a fabulous time. It was a really short trip, unfortunately, but we were late getting on the road because of my guts. Because, like I was saying earlier, the morning hours are very tricky for me. Either nothing's going to happen, or I'm going to be in the bathroom for like an hour. It's one or the other. There's no middle ground. It's either I'm backed up or everything's flowing. And especially in the mornings, which is really tricky, because if you're going to go on a trip, a lot of times you want to leave like first thing in the morning. Oh, there goes my love. Or you want to say you're like at Disney, which, you know, it's where I travel to the most, although I have started traveling elsewhere. You want to get there first thing in the morning for the opening of the park to try to avoid the crowds, the heat, whatever. And so it is something that is incredibly inconvenient. But planning and preparing does help. It definitely helps. And sometimes it's just a matter of powering through. But of course, if you're shitting your guts all over the place, like, there's no powering through that. So, I don't know. Have you guys read this article? I'll link it in the video description and you can read it. It's not a long one, and it's basically just everything that I told you. Anyhow, yeah, new fear unlocked. What would you guys have done in that situation? Tell me. Because I don't know. I don't think I would ever show my face. Like, and the thing is, like, they didn't like name the person. They kept their identity private, which hallelujah for that, right? But I don't know. And well, and you're probably never going to see any of those people again, I would imagine. Unless you were traveling with family or friends. So, I don't know. Yeah, you're never going to see them again. But still, ooh, I don't know. How would you handle it? Especially those of you, my friends, who also have disastrous digestive disorders. Look at me being all alliterative. Anyway, I've been Julie. This has been something of a journal. Something like that. I'm finding here and there different things that are popping up that I want to talk about. I'm not saying I'm becoming some kind of commentary channel, but when it's stuff that I feel like applies to myself, my life, and lots of people that I know here on YouTube, I'm like, we're going to talk about it. Even if it does add more fear to our already fearful existences. Or, you know, it could also be an opportunity for gratitude and a good perspective and be like, yeah, I might be stuck in the bathroom here in my home, my comfy toilet, a toilet I know well. I might be stuck there for at least an hour every morning, if not more, depending on the day. But at least, I'm not on a plane full of people shitting all the way down the aisle. How's that for perspective and gratitude? Anyway, I've been Julie. You've been wonderful. I will see you all real soon.